So I'm going to show you how to attach a head to a main cosy. Now I've been modifying tea cosies to accommodate heads because they do have a wobble, and because there's a great big teapot lid knob here, that, you know, when you're trying to put two balls together on top of each other, inevitably they're going to rock around a bit. So I've started with the anti-wobble technology, which is this bit, which is effectively a peg that your head slots onto to help it stay stable, right? So here's the head, it's all done. You know, I always say to attach everything to the head before you attach it to the body, because it's much easier to hold a small thing in your hand and to, you know, add your embellishments. But it's much trickier when it's already on the teapot and you've got to keep picking up the pot because the pots are quite heavy. But anyway, here we go. So specs on. So what I've done is I've put my finger inside the head and moved the stuffing out the way. So I've just squished it to the sides so it's out the way, because obviously the peg is going to take up that space. And then the peg goes on and you put the head on. Is she looking the right way? She's looking down a bit. So you need to stuff them quite firmly, you know, these heads. Because if you look at, I've got quite big hands for a lady, but you know, if you compare her head to the size of my fist, that's kind of what you're aiming for when you're stuffing the head. They do need to be well stuffed. So now I've got her head on and she's looking the right way. I'm going to start sewing her up. So I've got her head into position, and I'm just going to put a couple of pins in, because as you sew around and pull, heads tend to start turning. So you think she's going to be looking forward and she ends up looking slightly horizontally. So I've pinned her head into place. And then to sew the head on, you know, that's up there is beyond this sort of point is the head stabilizer. So that's there. So I'm just below that. Oh, and we stitch through and then pick up a stitch on the head. And then back down on the body. And then on the head. You know, and as you come up to the pins, you can take those out. There's no point in trying to battle around them. So I take a bit from the bottom and then a bit from the top. And you work your way all the way around. I want to show you as well where you increase. You know where you've increased on the head? I can see a clear one on the other side of her face. I'll show you that one. But they create like ladders. You know, like you get ladders in your types. The increases make a little ladder-like line. And, you know, it's horrible on your tea cosy face to have like a line going up, but you see it there, look, that's where I've increased. There's an increase there, there and there, and it pulls it away and creates this line. And while you're sewing the head on, you can correct that. Let me show you, look, it's a really easy fix. Now, if you work down that line, is to here, look. And if you bring these two stitches closer together, whilst just sewing up anyway, it starts to close up that gap. Look, you can massage it a bit and close it up. You see it's closing now, and it just looks so much nicer, doesn't it, than having an ugly laddery line up her face. So that's that little trick. And because you're going round anyway, sewing it up, so you might just as well do a quick fix. I like quick fixes. Much better than the alternative. So, and then when you get round to the beginning, we'll have a little look and see how wobbly our head looks. Because, before the stabilisers, I'd go round once, but then I'd go round again. And that would help shore up the head a bit more. But with the stabilisers, there's a lot less problem. Now, there's another tip coming up. So I finished off, but if I cut the yarn there, you will forever see it because there'll be a little tuft sticking out. So if you go into the head and come out somewhere else, it doesn't matter where you come out, but you're a long way from the site. And now if you give this little bit of an end a little tug, when I cut it, because it's pulling, it'll draw that inside the head. Watching closely. See, it's gone. So now that end is inside the head, which is better than it sitting there because you can't see it. Oh, I was supposed to check ahead before I took that end off. I've got another end, that's okay. But look, with the head stabiliser, there's always going to be a bit of rock, but I don't mind that actually because it adds character when you pick her up and use her. Her head moves a little bit. So that is my top tip for sewing on heads.